Welcome to another episode of Barstool Rockers, a journey down the rabbit hole of rock and roll's past, present, and future. Now, here are your hosts, Jim Finn and Dan Michaels.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you open a podcast. With a friend like that and a voice like that.
The big voice.
It is Barstool Rockers for March 12th, 2017. And before we get things going today, we do want to give you a little update on something here. There's a campaign going on right now to get people who have never listened to podcasts before to go out and try them. If you know of somebody who's never tried one, encourage them to do so. Also, maybe think about asking them to try this one. And if you'd be so kind to share this one on social media, we'd really appreciate it. Use the hashtag that everybody's using right now. It's tripod. Hashtag TRYPOD.
Here's what we have going on in headlines today. Bygones will apparently be bygones when Yes is inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is coming up on April 7th. Founding frontman John Anderson, who was dismissed from his second stint with the group, rather acrimoniously back in 2008, tells Billboard that he'll be there along with the other current members. That would be Steve Howe, Alan White, and Yes alumni Rick Wakeman, Tony Kaye, and Bill Bruford to accept the band's trophies and also perform. Anderson said, quote, there's always animosity. People that you love, you don't always like, and there's always going to be that. But when you're celebrating who you truly are, you forget about all that. You just get on with meeting each other, seeing each other, and the music is a healing force on every level. Anderson, who's currently working with Wakeman and Rabin as ARW, yep, he'll be there for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. The group will be inducted by Rush's Geddy Lee. Now, there was talk that Geddy was, in fact, believe it was John Anderson who mentioned that Geddy Lee
that was huge.
He was going to perform with the band, taking the place of the late Chris Squire for Roundabout.
Well, and I got all excited and posted that on the Facebook page,
That would be epic.
That would be huge.
But there's been an update. Wah, wah, wah. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation sent out a statement to Billboard after the story was published, denying that Geddy would perform at the ceremony. Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson were only confirmed to do the induction speech for one of their favorite bands and not perform. But you never know. You never know what could happen at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they're trying to quash that so people don't get excited,
but
then they're going to
hopes up.
But then they're going to go, oh, by the way, look at this.
See our bright new shiny toy here. The induction ceremony is on April 7th. HBO will broadcast it April 29th.
They seem like one of those bands that has always been the definition of that one saying that was shared with me once upon a time. With chemistry comes combustion.
Oh, yeah.
And they're a perfect example of that. They fight, but they make amazing music.
Creative differences, personal differences, but they do make amazing music. And about time that they got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
How many years did this one take?
Another one of those bands where it's been too long.
We need to spend an entire day talking about the Rock Hall. Yeah, that's exactly it. Despite rumors that they will be continuing, Black Sabbath this week confirmed that they have indeed split up after 49 years together. Last month, they played what was billed as their final gig. Tony Iommi then, that was on Saturday. And then on Monday, Iommi went on to say he was sure the band could make more music together. It was just the touring for me. It's time to stop roaming the world and be at home for a bit. That was Iommi's take on it. However, that's all been cast into doubt right now with the band post on social media. It seems to be an official ending and obituary with an image with the words Black Sabbath 1968 to 2017, along with a caption, hashtag the end, and a classic photo of Sabbath in their 70s prime. So that one's still there. I still contend.
You still want to have hope, don't you?
I still contend that there will be one more, and it will be Bill Ward on stage with them, playing it out.
I think that's a distinct possibility.
It is.
Parlophone has planned 2 limited edition David Bowie releases to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Record Store Day. As Pitchfork reports, Cracked Actor Live in Los Angeles, 1974, has never been released, while Bow Promo replicates a 1971 small run pressing of alternate mixes of some of the songs that made it onto Hunky Dory. Cracked Actor was recorded live at Universal Amphitheater on September 5th of 1974 during the Philly Dogs tour, while some of the material also appeared in the Cracked Actor BBC documentary. The forthcoming triple vinyl 5-sided album contains the full concert, so awesome on that. The sixth side houses an etching of the Diamond Dogs era Bowie logo. So another awesome thing that we'll be able to get our grubby little hands on come record store day.
Is that a spiritual journey for you when it comes to record store day? Do you get the family together, perhaps dine on a fine meal?
We've done exactly that. We'll go have a nice meal, and then we'll go shopping for vinyl. Yeah, it's been a great bonding experiences, but it's also, it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's become such a huge event. Shout out to our own local record store, by the way, Revival Records downtown with Billy. It's become such a double-edged sword because people get so manic, and you get such a mad rush at the beginning of record store day, and they in most places only carry so many copies of the vinyl. So you get people that just rush in. It's kind of like Black Friday now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to save this one till later, but actually I'm going to pull it up to the front right now. We were talking about this earlier today, a new venture called Vinylized. They want to unite record buyers to crowdfund vinyl releases and make it easier for small labels by providing a complete end-to-end service. Labels can add their catalog to the site for free if and when pre-orders for customers reach the target minimum run. Vinylized will take care of all the manufacturing from mastering to pressing. So it'll be like made to order. They also pack and ship all the orders, eliminating the need for distributors. So we might see more vinyl out there from some smaller bands and some tiny projects, which would be really cool.
And I think this is a good idea. And now we have things like Pledge Music and a lot of other crowdfunding ventures where smaller bands can do things like this. And again, we've been talking in the past few weeks about fans getting more of the band, and a lot of times in places like Pledge Music and the last Marillion album, Fear. Pledge Music worked on that, released it, and I was able to get an autographed copy of the album when it was first released. They just throw it in as part of a package. You want an autographed copy of the latest from Marillion? This is how much it's going to cost you. And price-wise, it actually wasn't that bad.
Well, That's like with Neil Morse and his Radiant Records. Mm-hmm. That's where the Neil Morse band came from, and a lot of projects that are involved there. A lot of the bands and a lot of the members that are involved with him, they route everything through Radiant Records, and you can do great things. I mean, I loaned that set of Flying Colors albums to you, and I've got the DVDs. They all came autographed. There's guitar picks sitting out on the table and everything like that. So it's really a cool thing that a lot of these labels are doing to help the artists.
Get the music out there, and we see the benefits. Reap the rewards. Pearl Jam going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not every existent member of the long-running band is going to be included at the ceremony, though. Yet another one of those stories where somebody's being snubbed. It happens every Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, doesn't it? Yeah. Somebody gets snubbed. Of the band's 5 drummers employed over the years, only founding member Dave Cruzen and current drummer Matt Cameron are listed on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's induction docket. Last year, when the nominations were announced, Dave Abraziz, the band's drummer from 91 to 94, took to Facebook to bemoan being snubbed from the soiree. He, along with drummers Jack Irons and Matt Chamberlain, were all left off the roster of inductees. And Dave's been quite verbal about it, so he's not happy.
Do they go through drummers like Spinal Tap does?
Off that
drummer spontaneously combusted. A fourth drummer.
The Pearl Jam. The real Spinal Tap, I guess.
A fourth drummer choked on vomit. We're not quite sure whose vomit. You can't very well dust the vomit now.
They go through drummers like Spinal Tap.
There you go. Hey, Pat Benetar fans, there's good news coming there. There's, she's done some recently released songs, her first non-holiday music in more than a decade. And all that stuff is not a one-and-done project. There's plenty more where that came from. In January, of course, she delivered Shine. Coming soon is Dancing Through the Wreckage, which Pat's husband and partner in rock, Neil Giraldo, wrote with Linda Perry from Four Non-Blondes.
Okay.
And Benetar sang for Served Like a Girl, a new documentary about female veterans that's showing at this year's South by Southwest Film Festival. She says, we have so much stuff written. It's just that we're touring so much. It's impossible to record and, work at the same time. They did 160 shows last year, excuse me. Right now, she says they don't know if they're going to do an EP or a full album. We're just going to do them, and wherever they go, they go. You have to get them out.
Yeah.
She said they told management and their booking agent, that's it. We're going to stay home. We're not going to play as much this year, and we're going to record. As for her coming collaboration with Linda Perry, she describes Dancing Through the Wreckage as kind of a mid-tempo song, kind of atmospheric, not really a big rocker.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Giraldo has designs on some solo material coming up, including a Christmas album.
Well, that's good news because Pat she moves all over the board music-wise. She's done the blues. She's done torch songs and everything in between. So
yeah,
and she's still got it. I mean, she's still got the voice. Pipes are in good shape.
They still have it.
Yeah,
they're 35 years strong.
That's
They've been together
crazy.
recording since her debut album. 79 in Heat of the Night. So.
And they seem happy. They seem like a happy couple.
They're just constantly happy together. They smile and they're very tactile when you see them together.
It's a nice change.
You seem like you're a little parched over there.
What? Oh.
You just seem like you need a beverage. So I'll tell you, you start this one up. I'll grab beverages.
Yeah, we've been dry for a couple of weeks now. I don't know what's going on. All right, you go get the beverages, Dan. Here we go. U2 is celebrating the 30th anniversary of the landmark fifth studio album, The Joshua Tree, with a commemorative edition featuring bonus tracks and also a live 1987 show from New York's Madison Square Garden. The release will also include B-sides from the album's original sessions, 2017 remixes from producer Daniel Lanois. We're going to talk a little bit more about Lanois coming up later in the episode. Steve Lillywhite and Flood, as well as the live recording of a show from the Joshua Tree tour. So they're going all out for this one. The special edition collection is due from Interscope on June 2nd. The set will also come with an 84-page hardback book of unseen personal photos shot by guitarist The Edge during the original Mojave Desert photo sessions in '86. The group is kicking off the Joshua Tree Tour 2017 in Vancouver on May 12th. It'll take them from stadiums across North America and Europe and will include their first ever U.S. festival headline slot at this year's Bonnaroo Festival. Also, just since we're on the U2 topic, it is also the anniversary of the Pop album, the 20th anniversary of Pop. Here's the deal. The Joshua Tree was a huge U2 album. Pop, not so much. We talk about a lot of kinds of music here. We talk about music that has been commercially successful. We talk about some music that hasn't been quite as commercially successful. I am not allergic to things that see some mainstream success.
No,
I'm not. It doesn't matter to me. I know because some people look at it as a sellout. If you're successful, you're successful and you sell 20 billion copies of an album, which makes no sense at all because Dark Side of the Moon, one of the most successful albums, if not the most successful album of all time, in my humble opinion, also one of the best.
Yeah.
Now, I like to see a band that evolves, grows, is not afraid to reach for something, whether or not it's within their grasp or not. But I do like to see a band that evolves. Sometimes they change, and you're not immediately on board with the changes they've made. Anyway, my point is that...
But they're staying true to themselves.
They're staying true to themselves, and no band really wants to just continuously do the same thing over and over and over again. But pop was basically a natural evolution from Achtung Baby and Zooropa. I feel like it's one of their underrated albums, but it was a complete 180 for them. And at the time, there were bands like The Prodigy. There was a big techno thing. Yeah,
I am the fire starter.
Yeah. There was a big techno thing going on back in 1997 or whatever. And I
Twisted Firestarter.
Here's my visual aid. The CD copy, though I don't own it on vinyl. Though I would love to own this on vinyl.
We'll wait till vinyl for today's teaser picture.
Yeah. But Discotheque was pretty much the big song on the album. But there's some great songs on here. Mofo, great song. Staring at the Sun, great song. God Will Send His Angels, great song. Velvet Dress, Please. I think it's an underrated album, but it is a polarizing album because many people would put this. U2 is actually kind of a polarizing band because of that whole.
Yeah, definitely.
They've seen a lot of mainstream success, so everybody thinks, and because of Bono and his pseudo messianic tendencies.
Did you see the South Park, by the way?
I don't think so.
Okay,
no.
I'll have to tell you about that a little later.
Yeah.
If you there was a South Park episode where Randy did something.
Okay.
And Bono was the previous record holder. The Guinness Book of World Records was involved in a number of things, and I'll not talk about it on here. Because I'm not sure exactly if it'll mess up our ratings or not. But,
okay.
But once
share with me after the podcast. I will
share with you after the podcast, and if you're interested in it, by all means, go look it up.
Yeah.
Katie Couric's name gets used to they're talking about a certain thing, and it's rated in Couric's. So anyway,
we will delve into this later.
We'll talk about it later. Maybe next week.
Thanks for the brewski, by the way. Cheers, Sláinte.
But no, what you're saying though is once you've decided that you like a band, and you've committed to it, you make that commitment, and you're willing to take the trip with them.
I feel like you have to if you really, But there are bands where you know them sounding a certain way, and then they do change, and then you kind of say, well, I'm not so. Radiohead's a good example of this. Now, I'm really cool with the stuff that they do now, but if they were to do another album where they got back to writing, I don't want to tick anybody off, but writing actual songs, like if they went back to The Bends or Creep or Fake Plastic Trees or anything like that, I'd be down with that. I'm cool with where they're at now, and I like the way they've changed and evolved. And then U2, they actually went back to their classic sound after the commercial disaster that was pop. They went back to sounding more like old school U2, and I prefer pop over some of the later albums. That may sound crazy to some people, but
did you see the video with the Edge where he's showing how his guitar playing, what it sounds like with and without the pedals? There's a video floating around there. I'll try to put that on the episode page for today's episode. Yeah, the episode page for today's episode. Brilliant, man, brilliant.
And I bet you it sounds a lot different without the pedals, doesn't it?
Yep, definitely. One of us needs sleep, and I'm pretty sure it's me this week. For those of you who are AC/DC fans, you know the name Bon Scott. He would go on to be one of the most influential and iconic rock singers of all time, and a career cut short on February 19th, 1980, when he was found dead in London, England. Not many people really have an insight to Bon's life. Well, a new book is coming out, courtesy of author Jesse Finch, whose work may be familiar to fans of the band through his 2015 release called The Youngs, the brothers who built AC/DC. He's calling it a passion project, promising Last Highway is the biggest book I've ever written, and hints that it'll focus on the story of Bond's early years in America. Actually, his only years in America, wasn't it? 77 to 79, really, and his mysterious death in England in 1980. There's always been a great mystery surrounding the death of Bond, Scott. A lot of people speculated on whether or not the reports were true of what really happened that night. Fink calls his death the Da Vinci Code of rock. So that's coming up here soon. And
did you mention a release date on that? Is there no? Okay.
Nothing that I know of right now. I could spin around and look for the.
I definitely want to check this book out. Yeah, that is his death is one of the great rock and roll mysteries, along with Brian Jones from the Stones and that whole finding the body in the pool thing. But yeah, that sounds like a good read.
It says it's due in October.
Oh, okay.
So we got a few months on that one.
Miss Bond, Scott. Miss Bond.
Yeah, and that whole, we've been down that AC/DC hole numerous times already.
Right.
So
Jack White is working on his next record in an empty Nashville apartment on a cheap reel-to-reel recorder. I knew there was something I liked about Jack White.
Analog man.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. In a recent interview, he explained that he got the recorder when he was 14, and it's all he needs besides a coffee table, a cot, an American flag, and a few pictures. He claims it's important that he has technical limitations on his work because with computers, you can use 310 tracks if you want to, but it's too much freedom. Jack also, besides his list of needs with the coffee table and the cot and a few pictures, he also prefers Red Bull and a shot of whiskey, and I guess his pre-stage rituals are rather interesting. He recently talked about his pre-stage rituals, revealing that he often works himself into a frenzy before he performs. He says he likes his Red Bull and a shot of whiskey, and then he's backstage, before you know it, with a baseball bat breaking things. He says you have to work yourself up into a frenzy. Okay.
That's an interesting rider. I wonder if they require things for him to break. Is it a fungo bat? Is it like a batting practice bat? Is it a wood, aluminum? What is it?
Yeah, what kind of bat does Jack prefer?
Now I want to know.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, we got to find the rider on that one. No, Emmett, he doesn't need the chocolate M&Ms. He just needs the baseball bat.
Well, and that's all, it was just to make sure the promoters were reading the contract and adhering to the details.
Yeah.
It was nothing to do with the M&Ms itself.
I know. I only bring it up so we can,
Yes, it was Dave making sure
that they're paying attention.
Yes, exactly. Going back to last week's show, we were talking about Deep Purple and is it the end coming? Is it not? Well, Ian Pace says the band still feels like a bunch of kids when they're making music together. That story came out this week. They're gearing up, of course, for the launch of the 20th album, Infinite, and the corresponding Long Goodbye tour. In an interview with Classic Rock in their new issue, he said, it's hard to accept that this thing you helped create and grew up with will be no more. When we can no longer cut the mustard on stage, then we'll think about hanging the boots up. According to Roger Glover, the record company came up with the title to the new album and are likely hedging their bets. The idea of announcing a final show like Sabbath has just done, none of us wanted that. So they're not saying it's, it's not the long goodbye or anything in their eyes. That was kind of something that was pushed on and out. The tour could take 3 years.
Yeah,
is kind of what they're saying. But, it's still, Deep Purple is going out there. They're going to do it. I hope to be able to go see them. I'd like to go see them in a setting on their own rather than a festival setting.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a very cool thing to do.
And hopefully they'll know when it's time to hang up the boots. Here's a question for you. Let me put you on the spot. You got any artist that you can think of right off the bat that has gone on maybe a bit too much?
Well, there's one band that stays in the news very well. And the only reason I say that is because for those of you who don't know who we're talking about, Kiss. And they're still great, but Paul's voice is struggling.
Yeah.
The man has been singing in an area where none of us can even contemplate for how many years. Time is going to take its toll.
Do you go to see Kiss for that, though? Does it bother you? When was the last time you saw Kiss?
The last time I saw them was at Festival.
Mm-hmm. Few years ago.
Yeah. I've not seen them since. First time I saw Kiss would have been... first time I saw them was when I met them.
What year was that?
It was Hot in the Shade.
Okay, so it's back there.
Yeah, it was far enough back. It was, no makeup. Met Eric Carr. That was a phenomenal experience.
Eric is just a righteous dude. He is so cool.
He was one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
In that setting.
Nice guy.
So.
All righty. Eddie Vedder is doing a solo European tour. The Pearl Jam frontman will do a quick 11-date trek beginning March 29th. Vedder's going to stop in Amsterdam, Berlin, London, Dublin, Florence, and a bunch of other places before it's all said and done. There's no word on any U.S. shows, and hopefully he doesn't run into any of those drummers that are not going to be involved in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So, and what else do I have here? Bad Company is reissuing 2 more albums from their catalog. The band started a series of deluxe reissues 2 years ago. They'll be adding 1976's Run with the Pack and 1977's Burning Sky on May 26th. Each album will have a disc of alternate versions, demos, and previously unreleased songs. If you're a Bad Company fan, you'll want to pick those up.
Folks, we're kind of looking forward to the John Wetton tribute coming up later in the year and the touring with Asia. Well, just 4 days after it was announced, Foreigner in Asia's upcoming November tour with special guest John Parr has been postponed. In a post on Asia's social channels and their management company, the posts read, "Unfortunately, the Foreigner Asia John Wetton tribute November dates have been canceled for reasons beyond our control. Refunds can be obtained from ticket offices or can be kept for rescheduled dates." There's no official reason on the postponement yet or the cancellations, and no word on the reschedules. It really doesn't impact us here because the dates were all over in the UK, but it's just something a lot of people were looking forward to, and I'm sure everybody was looking forward to the recordings that would have come out and, for the Asia fans.
Yeah. To pay tribute to John.
And they're one of those bands, you appreciate it, you appreciate the commercial stuff, but you also appreciate their non-huge material as well.
Exactly. Vintage Liverpool police recruitment film dating from 1958 may very likely have a glimpse of John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and his brother Michael McCartney. The McCartney brother told the Liverpool Echo, "The Beatles, it looks like they do show up in the footage, and it would be the earliest known film appearance of any of the group members." Michael McCartney said he believed it was himself, Paul, and very likely John Lennon in the film. He told the paper it was really a big occasion in Liverpool, and that's what we used to do every summer. They would take deck chairs out, climb onto the concrete shed, and watch a free show. You can apparently see this on YouTube.
Yeah.
This film.
It's like at 34 minutes and something in, I think they say.
Yeah, the footage was discovered by Peter Hodgson, who posted on Facebook. He said, "I have old footage from 1958. The complete film runs about 41 minutes long. It's on YouTube. The glimpse of the Beatles comes in at about 34 minutes, 33 seconds into the film. The footage shows Paul McCartney along with his brother Michael and Lennon on a rooftop at their home at 24th Lynn Road." I haven't seen this yet. I'm going to have to check this out.
We'll definitely put a link we'll put that in the video pile at the end of the post on today's episode.
Yeah, so it would be the earliest known video document of the Beatles.
I don't think they're singing. They're probably just kind of
hanging out.
They're B-roll at that point.
Right. B-roll.
This was before they became A-roll.
Beatles
they're
B-roll. I like it.
Oh, fans of Jimmy Buffett, the Parrot Heads can add nursing care to their routine of endless Mai Tais and cheeseburgers sooner or later.
What?
Yep, there's a string of planned Margaritaville retirement homes. A new website that's called Latitude Margaritaville. It's going to be in Daytona Beach, Florida.
How did I know you were going to say Florida?
Yep,
Yeah.
It promises that the party will continue well into the golden years. So, inspired by the legendary music and lifestyle of singer-songwriter and best-selling author Jimmy Buffett, your new home in paradise features exciting recreation, unmatched dining, and fantastic nightlife. They're calling it the paradise where you can grow older, but not grow up. Those are the best stories right there. They just, the man is going to fade off into a pile of other people's money. Very well, too. Why can't I be that?
It's inevitable. Parrot heads get older.
Yes, we all do, but they're just. Man, he's got it made.
Yeah,
and he's like, it's a church.
What a businessman.
It's a church, really. It's the Church of Buffett.
The Church of Buffett. Courtney Love still believes that Marlon Brando is her grandfather. We'll just let that sit there. Yeah. Yeah.
She believes a lot of things.
Courtney, she believes that Brando is her grandfather because the late actor was living with her author grandma when the rocker's mother was conceived. Brando and Love's grandmother, Paula Fox, were reportedly guests of iconic acting coach Stella Adler in 1943, the year the whole star's mom, Linda Carroll, was conceived. Fox, who was 19 at the time, subsequently placed Carroll up for adoption. Fox passed away last week without revealing the true identity of Love's grandfather, but the 52-year-old still believes she is related to the late Godfather star.
Well, when she has the right drugs in her system, she believes she's a fire truck. So.
Stop, behave.
I'm talking about prescriptions. Now, come on.
I swear. She says, I once asked Warren Beatty to ask Marlon to tell me, but she's going to save the results of that interaction with Warren Beatty for her memoir.
Sell the book. It's either sell the book or sell the album.
Sell
it's all this time there.
Fox was asked about Love's claims back in 2013. Here's what dear old grandma had to say about our lovely, delicate flower, Courtney. Quote, she's awful. She's awful. She's terrible. I met with her for an hour, and the hour was like an hour in the devil's pocket for both of us.
What would that hour be like exactly?
You know, I saw Hole back in the day. They opened for 9 Inch Nails. I saw them in Milwaukee in the 90s, and they put on a great show as long as Courtney wasn't saying anything. She was just doing the music. We were good. But as soon as she went on a rant,
hasn't she dove into the crowd and
she's done everything. Courtney's
things?
Done everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a colorful life, you know. The woman definitely knows how to live, and she's not one of those people. You know, you have those people in life that put their emotions into a little tiny box and then tuck it up on a shelf in their mind.
You're saying her. That's not Courtney.
That's not her. She's not going to have one of those moments.
She's had many.
No, but she's not going to be that person.
She's not going to be that person
who just gets overwrought with unbridled anger, you know, and she just lets it rip.
She just tells it like it is.
Gets it the hell out there. So one of my favorites. She
doesn't internalize, is what you're saying.
No, I compartmentalize a lot of things in life. She doesn't. One of the things I get a little riled up about is ticket scalping and the legalized ticket scalping and how that's been made fair game to reach into music fan pockets. Well, an amendment now. This is again not in the States, but this is something that's kind of turning up the volume on this whole thing, and we've talked about it a couple weeks now. An amendment to the Digital Economy Bill in the UK means it's illegal to use bots to bypass limits on the maximum number of tickets to a show that can be purchased. For their Department of Culture, Media, and Sport, the spokesman said the profiteering was simply not fair. High-profile artists have previously criticized the resellers and asked their fans not to buy tickets from secondary sites. Last month, resale site Viagogo was accused of moral repugnance. I love the way they term things over there. Moral repugnance. They were selling tickets to an Ed Sheeran Teenage Cancer Trust gig for up to £5,000, which would be that's like 1.2. It'd be like $6,000 probably.
I think it's a little over, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it'd be right at $6,000. An 85-pound ticket to see Adele, which would be about $103 at the O2 in London last year, was reportedly being sold for $3,000.
Good Lord.
One fan recently paid about $305 each for them and a date to see Black Sabbath at Birmingham's O2 Arena, buying from a secondary website where prices were more than double the face value. The chief executive of Music Industry Representatives UK Music welcomed the move, saying massive profit is made by people who are taking value out of the music industry and putting tickets out of the reach of music fans.
Yeah.
So that's that whole thing where they'll go on sale, the bot will buy a batch of tickets, and then another batch of tickets, and then another batch of tickets, and it'll just keep doing it. And literally inside of minutes, like under 5 minutes, some of these shows are selling out.
Mm-hmm.
And guys like us, we can't get to them. People, the regular fans just can't get to the tickets. And I hope that eventually that comes into play over here.
I hope they do some correcting on this, yeah, because how many shows have there been where we've wanted to go, but we haven't been able to because we can't get the tickets, or the tickets just cost an arm and a leg, and that's just not cool.
Well, and
that being said, there's a lot of people that will pay no matter what. If they really want to see a show, they'll pay. If they can afford it, they'll spend it if they can get to the tickets. But
there's a lot of speculation that sometimes the artists are behind.
Sure.
They'll contract the reseller to do just that, to buy them up as quickly as they possibly can when they go on sale, and then they get a cut of it.
Yeah.
So who knows? It's nothing that I want to think about. I don't want to think about. But the bands are struggling to make money. They're not making it on the albums anymore.
Well, and some of the bands, yeah, that's exactly it. They don't make it on the music that they put out, so it's all about the performances and
they've got to come up with some way
to
make their money.
That between that and merchandising, that's where they make their bread.
But at the same time, taking $100 ticket and turning it into a $500 or $600
it just
tickets,
ain't right.
No,
it just ain't right.
We're talking about the Queen tickets, and just the face value on the Queen tickets was amazing for this upcoming tour. Mm-hmm. And then what the resellers are going to do to it, I just don't even want to think about looking at the prices. So
that's all I got, man, except for random notes. I got some random notes.
Yeah, well, random notes seem to be our best moments at times.
Tool is starting to line up some tour dates. A post on the band's Facebook page this week. Tool tour dates, heads up. They say they're going to be posting some tour dates very soon. Of course, that's
Toto.
That's mega for Tool fans because they've been waiting for a new album and some Tool tour dates.
Another band whose name starts with T and has 4 letters, Toto. They've announced a round of U.S. summer tour dates with more to come in major cities by August and September. It's called An Evening with Toto, and it's going to feature songs and fan favorites from the 2015 Toto, 14 album. So I'm sure the fan favorites will include other albums, but yeah, that's there. And there's going to apparently be a new DVD coming out, and they're working on a studio project to mark the band's 40th anniversary.
Cool. Some of the artwork created by Gerald Scarfe for Pink Floyd's The Wall is being sold. The San Francisco Art Exchange is handling the sale, but the art is all from Gerald Scarfe's private collection. Some of the most recognizable pieces include The Scream, the teacher, and a sketch of the gross inflatable pig that Waters used in Germany when the Berlin Wall came down. You can check out the work at sfae.com.
Wasn't there something about the storyboard for the wall? Was up for sale too?
I don't have the full story here.
I thought I saw that in there too. I may be wrong. We'll try to get you a link to
that. But I did
one.
like your post this week about, a great birthday gift items for the hosts of Barstool Rockers.
It'd be great.
I would love some Gerald Scarf artwork. That would be awesome.
I have my Berkeley Breathed for Bloom County. I'd love to add something like that up there. Were you a fan of the Monkees growing up? Mike Nesmith has a book coming out. So, did you know that he did a lot outside that band? He was an early pioneer of country rock, began producing other artists, and in the late 70s became one of the early adapters of music videos.
Yeah.
He produced Lionel Richie's All Night Long, Michael Jackson's The Way You Make Me Feel. So, but on the 18th of April, he's going to tell the whole story. His new autobiography. Hey, there's a word for you. When you're really tired,
sleep
say this
deprivation.
I am a professional at this part of the time. In his new autobiography called Infinite Tuesday, an autobiographical riff, which he says is nonfiction and not what you think. He describes it as not a memoir, but sort of chronological. Follows his life as different bands unite and break up. A bandology is what he's calling it. So, yeah, there will be a companion compilation of music. Infinite Tuesday, an autobiographical riff, the music. So look for that in April 14th for the music and on the 18th for the book.
One of the head honchos behind the Monkees, for sure. Have you ever seen the Monkees Head?
No.
The movie?
No,
you're going to have to check that out. Where do you stand on the Monkees?
It makes me think about childhood.
Okay.
It is a TV show to me.
Yeah.
It really was.
You didn't have a Monkees lunchbox?
No. We weren't that well to do.
Yeah. Neither were we.
So we had. I thought I was doing pretty damn good with a Peanuts lunchbox.
Well, that's good.
So I wish I still had it too.
It'd be worth a lot on eBay. Andy Summers is releasing a solo album. You thought you had problems with that last story. The former Police guitarist announced that the album will be out on March 24th. I'm going to take a shot at it. It's to be called Triboluminescence.
That works for me.
He says it's a scientific word that means creating light from dark, which he says is a great metaphor for any creative act and especially music. So if you're a fan of the former Police guitarist Andy Summers, you'll want to check that album out.
We talked last week, I think, about Quiet Riot with a new album coming and a new singer. Now it was announced that the album was originally set to release on April 21st, but the recent departure of their singer Shawn Nichols has caused them to postpone the release date so they can re-record the vocals with the new singer, American Idol contestant James Durbin. So it sounds like a summer release is coming now. Basically saying that, the band can't just be talented. They also have to get together. That, according to Frankie Banali. He said, we had to make the best decision for Quiet Riot. If there are problems so early in the cooperation, it's better to pull the emergency brake. So, yeah, they decided to say farewell to Shawn Nichols, and they brought along James Durbin to do the job. So they're re-recording the tracks now.
Cool. That's all I got, man.
That's the end of the stories here. I do have this big list because you do tend to find humor in how my mind wanders musically.
Well, and you had the week off last week because you were busy doing the Decadent Cabaret, and you are the hardest working man in showbiz, aren't you? You had another
have a cape.
Gig.
I don't have a cape, though.
You did some type of blues festival?
Yeah, we did production for a blues festival, so huge turnout for it, too. It was great.
That's cool.
Very cool. So yeah, this musical journey.
This is what we've been listening to in the past week, right?
Yeah, this was kind of this was a good day at my desk.
Okay.
And it got kicked off. The first two songs came from my Spotify Discover Weekly list.
Okay.
And it was Sail On from the Commodores, which went to hey, I listened to it.
I was just chuckling. I was just
fine.
I don't see you as a big Commodores guy, but okay.
I'll listen to it.
Okay.
You should have been in my high school.
All right.
And then it went into Billy Gibbons and the BFGs with Got Love If You Want It. And at that point, it all took off from there.
Well, it's even an interesting segue from the Commodores to Billy Gibbons. But
Spotify knows me. What can I say? The algorithm
knows
has
you
me.
well.
From Billy Gibbons, then I got thinking about ZZ Top, and for some strange reason, TV Dinners came up.
Well, that makes
so
sense.
I went there. Now, I don't know exactly why Split Ends I Got You hit me at that point.
It doesn't matter. It's a great song. It's a great band.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
There you go. And then we went to Kicks with Don't Close Your Eyes.
Okay.
Which Jafria's Call to the Heart came off of that one.
Still kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Kicks to Jafria.
How we went to Mike and the Mechanics' Silent Running, followed by Zebra, Who's Behind the Door, I'll never know. It's just sometimes melodies start bouncing through the brain. And then it was Jay Giles' Angel in Blue. Now, after that, I actually stuck with one band.
I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, that's a great song. I love that song. I have this Never Get Old playlist on Spotify. Yeah. That's one of the songs on there. Yeah. After that, I stuck with Shooting Star for three songs, and it was Last Chance Hollywood and Breakout. And with Shooting Star for me always comes Triumph, or with Triumph comes Shooting Star. They go hand in hand. Yeah. So I went down, Magic Power, Hold On, Lay It on the Line, Fight the Good Fight, Somebody's Out There, and Never Surrender. Okay. And somewhere in there was Lunch. And then RTZ popped into my head.
Okay.
So I had to, I went into Until Your Love Comes Back Around, Face the Music, Another Side, All You've Got, Living for the Rock and Roll, Devil to Pay, and then Turn This Love Around. And then the synapses were firing in a way that took me over to Lou Gramm, Lost in the Shadows from Lost Boys. You never heard that?
No, I have. I'm trying to figure out how your mind works here.
I don't know. And then it was Giant, I'm a Believer, and I'll See You in My Dreams.
Okay.
And then we went to Coverdale Page.
Sure.
Take Me for a Little While. This is the one you chuckled at earlier, and I shouldn't have even shown you the list. I should have just made you respond instantly. Gordon Lightfoot's Sundown. I have no idea.
So wait, so you went from Coverdale Page into
I know.
The Canadian lullaby of Gordon Lightfoot.
I know.
Wow.
The man who is a pile of dust right now with an amazing voice.
Can you imagine if it had been Coverdale Page Lightfoot? That would have been a great collaboration there, right?
Wow.
That's probably what you dream about at night. When you've got a playlist like this, you go to,
who knows?
What if Gordon Lightfoot had collaborated with Jimmy Page and David Coverdale? Oh, what sweet music they would have made.
And then we ended up at the Eagles with Pretty Maids All in a Row, and then Styx's Crystal Ball. So that's kind of how you ended on. That's kind of where my mind wandered in one day, and I kept track of it. So.
We'll get to the bottom of this someday.
I hope someday a therapist listens to this. I hope more people listen, and one of those people is a therapist and can understand it, and just give me an idea of why the brain does what it does musically.
And if there's anybody out there that's listening to this podcast that may know of someone that might be able to help in this kind of therapy, please
share the recording with them. Yes. Well,
that was great.
Like I said, it's a week to share podcasts with people who haven't tried them before. Yeah. So if you have a therapist friend who's never tried a podcast, please share this one with them and help us grow.
I think it's great because, as we talked about last week and probably the week before, it's good to have a wide playing field.
Well, that should
check out a lot of different things as opposed to just being pigeonholed into one type of music.
And that posting I put on the blog this week, No Limits, you know, and there was you can listen, you need to listen to a wide variety of things to get inspiration, because if you stick yourself into one little tiny genre all the time, I just think you get pigeonholed. You just get tunnel vision too much.
Don't box yourself in.
Don't.
All right. So my brain was working maybe as bizarrely as yours was this week. Okay.
Okay.
So much like last week, this is an this was just what's been on my turntable a lot. I've been listening to Ray LaMontagne's Ouroboros a lot. Have you listened to this at all?
I haven't.
You should. I would say as a recommendation, because I was never really huge into Ray LaMontagne, and then I heard this album, and I was totally down with it. So I would say if you like Pink Floyd and maybe Nick Drake, check out Ray LaMontagne's
Is that
last
my
album.
editing music for today?
It could be.
As I edit the cat?
I think you'd appreciate it because it does have kind of a Dark Side of the Moon vibe
kind
to
of
it.
Ethereal.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready for this one?
Bring it.
Okay. All right. Now
Do
this
we need a picture of this one?
You will definitely need a picture of this one.
Let's with the beer.
All right.
Okay.
Now, many rock critics have called this the worst rock album of all time. Many have. I don't believe that's the case.
A fan would not call it that.
I wouldn't say I'm a fan.
Okay. I'm not sure.
But I would say, but saying it's the worst is really saying something because there's been a lot of really horrible albums that have been
Okay,
released.
we're talking entire albums, not singles.
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. What are we doing? Where did this one come from?
Do you recognize anybody on the album cover? Anybody?
Who's the guy on the right? He looks familiar.
Okay. Are you ready?
Who is Attila?
Are you ready to experience the awe and wonder of Attila? Organ, drums, organ. Played through, I believe, a Marshall amplifier or something. That's Billy Joel.
Oh my God, you're right. Holy crap.
Before Billy Joel went out as a solo artist, he was in a couple of groups, one of which was the Hassles. And then after that, Billy's brief affair with psychedelic heavy metal music.
This is epic. This is beyond epic. I have friends that I have got to point this out to.
Dan, listen to the song titles, okay?
Hit me.
Wonder Woman, California Flash, Revenge is Sweet, Amplifier Fire, which, by the way, 7 minutes, 39 seconds long. Part 1, Godzilla. Part 2, March of the Huns.
Is there some prog to this or something?
It does have a prog. You know what it actually, there is kind of a Deep Purple vibe to this album. You got to read the back of this album cover because it is hilarious.
I don't know if I want to.
Check out young Mr. Joel there.
Wow.
Before he was the piano man.
Wow.
Attila.
Rolling Home. Tear this castle down. Holy Moses. Brain Invasion.
Brain Invasion.
Billy Joel plays a Hammond organ Model B3. He rewired it to bypass the Leslie tone cabinet and feeds it directly into the amplifiers. He calls the result pure raunch.
How do you describe the album cover?
Gothic, epic.
Attila.
There's leather. I believe that's raw meat hanging about.
Indeed it is.
It's just, and they're wearing, it's like Roman garb almost. So
yes.
Wow.
That's our treasure for the week.
That's definitely a treasure.
Attila.
You know, before we get too far down the road here, we do need to, we have our This Week in Kiss. We always have to talk about that, so we have to get to that. Let's do this quick. Was it really the Beatles that reunited in the 70s in some Canadian recording studio? No, it was Klaatu. And you remember Calling Occupants of an Interplanetary Craft? Carpenters did a version of it. Okay. I don't know. What
some
don't
people
you have?
Not a lot. There's a lot they don't have. So I was listening to that Sir Army Suit, the album that I was really jamming to. I mean, I hate the word Beatlesque, but it is, but I don't know. I don't really think it sounds that much like the Beatles. Okay, so we talked a lot about U2 this week with the Joshua Tree and Pop celebrating anniversaries. A Lost Classic for this week. Daniel Lanois, who co-produced The Unforgettable Fire of U2's and the Joshua Tree with Brian Eno and a lot of their other work. He had a solo album called Acadie from the late 80s. Just great album. Primarily recorded in New Orleans, I believe. Just a phenomenal album. If you like those albums by U2, you will want to check this out. If you've never heard it, that's an awesome one. And then because we were talking about U2 and Daniel Lanois, I went to Robbie Robertson. Robbie Robertson had a solo album that was released in 87. And this thing is gold. Do you remember this one?
Which one was it?
Broken Arrow, Fallen Angel.
I remember there was something on there. I can't remember exactly which song it was. That was one of those was
Somewhere
radio,
Down the Crazy River.
Could be.
Sammy from the Bodines.
Okay.
A ton of guest artists on this one. Rich Danko from the band, Garth Hudson from the band. Fallen Angels about Richard Manuel, the band, with Peter Gabriel doing backup vocals on it. Tony Levin is on there. Phenomenal album. That's another one that I would recommend for the week. Those are my choices.
Okay.
I don't think apart from Attila.
Well, that's class. That's epic.
I didn't go from Coverdale Page to Gordon Lightfoot, but
I don't question the brain. I just roll with it. I live with it and I embrace it.
This Week in Kiss, what do we got?
There was you had what's the one story?
They had they want to add a new brand of soda to their empire of products.
What is that number up to?
Kiss Destroyer Cola is a collaboration between the band and Rocket Fizz. The company will bottle and distribute the pop, plus produce Kiss and Rocket Fizz co-branded T-shirts and signs. Destroyer Cola will be in all Rocket Fizz stores in about 1 to 3 weeks.
And Rocket Fizz stores are what?
No, I have no idea where Rocket is. We'll do some research and we'll figure out.
We'll have to figure that one out. Yeah.
So there you go.
Also the other big story this week This Week in Kiss news. Ace Frehley was talking with a Brazilian publication and stated that he's good friends with Paul Stanley, added that he had recently crossed paths with Gene Simmons as well. I just saw Gene about a month ago. He came to my concert in Los Angeles. We hung out all night. Very, very, very friendly. He was great with everybody, said the guitarist. When asked about the reunion talk, now remember, 3 weeks ago, Paul said no.
No, it is not happening.
Not over, yeah.
I don't want to relive my past.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Frehley says, I haven't heard anything, but if I were a betting man, I'd say 50-50. That's good odds. So Ace is either very optimistic or delusional.
Yeah. Oh, Ace.
It's always a good time in Ace's mind.
But we agree it would be very cool.
It would.
If they did.
It would, but what form does it take at that point? Do they bring Peter back or, so that's a story for another time. And we've beat that drum very, very hard here.
Yeah.
Anyway, you'll find more on many of today's stories at barstoolrockers.com. Just click on the episodes page. You can also check out our blog pages. We'll post things there from time to time, other goodies through the week you might find interesting. Check us out on Facebook. We are over there, facebook.com/barstoolrockers, or just search for Barstool Rockers. You can listen and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes as well as a bunch of other services. If you like what you hear, please rate or review the podcast on iTunes or wherever you're hearing it. It helps the show rise in visibility on the services, and it helps new listeners find us. And again, if you like it, share it. Share the link with folks who might like it too. And, share it with a new podcast listener this week.
Yeah.
And if you're going to throw it out on social media, use the hashtag TRYPOD, TRYPOD. Thanks to our friend Stasia for the music you're hearing, our theme music that you hear that sets the pace for the show as we go. And
Thank you, Stasia.
And thank you all for listening. So
I want to share a quick story before we sign off.
Yes.
Real quickly. My kids went to go see a show in Chicago Last week, they went to go see a Los Campesinos show at the Metro in Chicago. Here's just to nutshell it. So my kids were in the bar. Go figure. Their last name's Finn. They're Irish. That's where they're going to be. Okay. So they were in a bar, and my second oldest was at the bar with the oldest, and he turned, I guess, to like his right, and he said to his brother, "Hey, isn't that the bass player for the band that they just got? Isn't that the Los Campesinos?" The big brother said, "Well, I'm not sure. It could be, So my second oldest, just seizes the moment, goes up to him, says, "Are you the bet?" Turns out he is. Okay. Cool. They have a brief conversation. They go to see the show. After the show, my kids go to the merch table. The whole band is behind the merch table selling merchandise.
Okay.
All right. And the bass player dude comes out from behind the table and says, "Hey, you were the guy that was at the bar that, I saw before the show," and blah, blah. This is the stuff we need. This is the stuff. We were talking about Alice Cooper last week, and when musicians and bands treat their fans with respect, if the fans are treating them with respect, my kid's never going to forget that. He's going to be like, "Oh, yeah, man, remember we were at that bar and we saw the guy?" And it's just a great story. For me, I like to hear when musicians and bands,
Well, and we get that opportunity. We've had that opportunity in our careers along the way, meeting Sammy Hagar for the first time, and then the second time, and he remembered the first time. He brought it up, and it's like, okay, you're I thought, no, he's just BSing. No, he remembered details around it.
Right.
And every subsequent time, it's always been the same thing. There was once a time, I'm going to admit it, when Poison was, at their heyday, and, they were the same way. And then a few years back at this big festival out here, Bret Michaels is walking back behind Radio Row and remembers all these little things, about the past.
Right.
So there are those amazing times, and there are those good people in business, and those are the people that we need to really celebrate.
You got to talk about those people,
absolutely.
It makes us all. Music is a healing force, and they say don't meet your idols. Well, but sometimes it's all right if you meet your idols because they're not always going to be jerks. Sometimes they're just going to be cool guys.
And it was the
same,
and
gals.
And it was the same with meeting Brad Delp, and that's another story for another time. We'll talk about. So.
Well, thanks, everybody, for listening this week. And again, share the podcast with anybody that you think might enjoy it. And we'll talk to you again next week.
I just watch because I suspect an anchorman of being an evil leprechaun.